Awesome. So welcome in to our Fast and Furious Zoom. We thought we'd put together a bit of a fun and quick, speedy Zoom for you guys. Not necessarily dishes that are, done in 5 minutes, necessarily, perhaps. Not necessarily, but more so fast and furious, as in super, super quick. Hardly any hands-on time, a couple of steps, and your Thermomix is doing the rest of the work. So I'm going to cook 2 dishes. Tash is also going to cook 2 dishes. I'm just going to take her off the spotlight now while she isn't cooking. And pop that in there. Beautiful. All right. So to kick off with, I'm going to start with a apricot chicken risotto. Has anybody made this before? Nod your head or shake your head. Some of you have. Awesome. I love this one. Now, this one, really important, is not exclusive to the TM6. So you can do this in a TM5 as well, if any of you have one. If you have got a different model to Thermomix, give it a go. It might be slightly different steps, but I'm sure you could get something close. Now, first thing we do with this one, I absolutely love this. It serves 6 people. So if you've not seen much of a Thermomix, the recipe is on my screen. Just like a cookbook, everything is there. Ingredients, nutrition panel, steps, everything is all on there. I'm just going to click up here, start cooking. Now, all I have done to get ready is just got my ingredients out and I've prepped. So that was about 4 minutes time or so just before I jumped in, was just that very, very small amount of prep. And I'm not lying with that. This is why I love this sort of cooking, because I'm not spending ages prepping and getting ready. I can just do a couple of minutes and get straight on into the cooking. So first thing we do here is we pop in some fresh thyme and some fresh parsley. Now, you're going to get to know, if you haven't cooked with me before, that I love to substitute. I don't have either of those fresh, so I've just got dried. I don't even think I've got parsley. It might be oregano or something else, but got a couple of dried herbs in there. I'm going to tip them in. The next thing is a clove or 2 cloves of garlic and about some ginger if you want. I leave the ginger out. And then 100 grams of brown onion. This is half one. I use the other half in the other dinner I made for the kids. I'm just going to put the half in. That's only 65 grams, but it really doesn't matter. You don't have to be exact. If you are a stickler for the rules and you love to be exact, then you can. That's absolutely fine. But for me, half of it in the other dinner, half of it in here, it means I have no waste, and it's a bit more convenient for me as well. So pop my lid on. This comes up on the screen here if you can't quite see. And we're going to give this a chop. So that was half an onion and a couple of cloves of garlic. Usually that would be fresh herbs, just in sprigs. We're using dried, so you won't quite see that. But now we're going to give this a chop. So the Thermomix here tells me exactly what to do. It says how many seconds, what speed to go to. It's all there on the screen. And this has chopped that up. So that was 3 seconds. And that is our chopped up. So onion, garlic. I love it. I saw some smiles there. That's perfect. This is why I like cameras on. I love to see what you think when you see things in the bowl. Oh, I still get excited about it. So I'm glad you guys are too. All right, so we give that a scrape down. And that step here is on the screen. It literally says scrape down the side. That onion's in my eyes. But these recipes, when they are developed, they get triply tested by our recipe development kitchens before they actually get uploaded onto this Cookie Do platform. So what that means is that all these little bits and pieces are added in. So there's no second guessing. Occasionally there is, but for the most part, there's not much second guessing when you're cooking. Pretty much everything runs really smoothly because it's already been tested and tested. Now, next thing here is 40 grams of olive oil. So again, you can stick to this exactly. I tend to just put a bit of a dash in. That's come up about 26 grams. That's enough for me. I'm going to pop my lid on and I'm going to get that on and cooking. So this is now cooking for 3 minutes. It's going to get up to a temperature we call Varoma, which is in Thermomix land really, really hot. So it's going to get up and above 120 degrees and basically mimic what you would be doing, like sauteing off on a fry pan on the stove. So it's going to saute off that onion and garlic and herbs ginger if you had it in there, and just cook it all off for you. So because I have everything ready, I'm not needing to do anything now. I've got a few minutes of time on my hands. But in most cases, this would now be the time for me to go, all right, what else do I need in my dish? I better get that chicken out. I'll cut it up. I'll get the rest of my apricot and capsicum and all those other things out and ready now. And you'll be surprised how much you'll actually get done in only 3 minutes. It doesn't sound like very long, but it's actually quite a bit of time to get everything else out. So while this is going away, I'm just going to grab something out of my cupboard here. Here we go. Does anyone know what these are? I know some of you guys will. Some of you would have them. Pop it into the chat. What are they? Oh, beautiful. Melissa, you've got theirs there. Love it. Pop it in the chat box. What is it? Oh, and can the Thermomix do a stir fry? I've just seen your question. Oh, beautiful. Tash has just answered that. There are so many stir fry recipes now on Cookie Do. There are some that you could do sort of in the TM5, but in the TM6 you can do all sorts of different stir fries because we've got the high heat. Last week I did like a sticky chili beef, which is a stir fry, and I also do like beef fajitas, which were sort of very similar to a stir fry. You've got a chicken teriyaki stir fry, all sorts of different things. So absolutely can stir fry. If you type stir fry into Cookie Do, you'll get lots of different options come up for you. Yeah. Now I saw someone pop it in. This is a thermo server. Oh, beautiful. Tanil's just popped into the chat box the recipe. So if you're watching along and you want to go find the one we're cooking tonight, just click on that link Tanil's popped into the chat box and you'll go and find our apricot chicken risotto. So before this finishes, really quickly, this is a thermo server. This is just our standard one. I know some of you guys might be after a different color. We might look at them a little bit later on, but this is our standard silver thermo server. So it's about a 2.6 litre capacity. What these are is basically a giant thermos. So they will keep, they're double walled, insulated, and they'll keep food really hot for 2 hours or really cold for 2 hours. Absolutely, you can pop pumpkin soup in these, pop the lid on, go for 40 minutes, come back and take the lid off and the steam will still come up everywhere. They are absolutely crazy how good they are. And so well they work that you can even cook rice and pasta in them because they'll hold that almost like simmering temperature. They are really, really handy. Usually they'd be about anywhere from 130 to 150 to buy. We do them as a special host reward. And I know some of you guys on here tonight might be hoping to pick one up. So we're going to be talking a bit about them throughout. But back to this. We're finished that. This is all, you might have seen it ding. Our lights are red here now, so this is really hot. Just so you guys can see if you haven't seen much. That is our veggies all sauteed off so far. So mainly onion, garlic and herbs. Now we get to put our veggies in. So at the end of this recipe, it calls for frozen peas. I thought I had some in the freezer, but it doesn't look like there is. So I'm just going to stick a little bit extra veggie in now, and that'll make up instead of having those peas in at the end. So this is about 100 grams of carrot going in. I've just roughly cut this carrot up into about quarters. If you've got a thermi and you're wondering sometimes how big do I cut my veggies, a really good guide is whether it fits through the hole in your mixing bowl lid. That is about that 3 centimetre sort of size that you're looking for. So use that as a bit of a guide. There's about 160 grams of carrots, so a bit extra. And this was just a whole red capsicum. Calls for 120 grams. And there's about 160. So a bit extra veg in there. Now I'm going to pop this on. And that capsicum, it was, again, cut in about 6 or 8 pieces. Now you would have seen this move around a little bit on the bench. That's just the power. So the power in the Thermomix has just chopped all of those things up, the carrot and the capsicum, and that's what we're left. 3 seconds. Who can grate up a carrot and chop up a capsicum in 3 seconds? Definitely not me. That's why I love it. All right. Next, we're going to give it another scrape down. You can see it's all up around the edges. We want to scrape it all back down into the bottom of the bowl again. And now we get into the fun stuff. Who knows what this is? Pop it in the chat box. I'm going to stick it in here. Does anyone know? Butterfly whisk. Yes. So a butterfly whisk. What this is going to do, and you can't see again on the screen, I'm sorry, but there's a little video here just telling you how to pop it in the bowl. So if you're new to Thermomix and you're not sure, give you a little video of how to do it. But it's just going to help to spin everything around, meaning that everything at the top will get mixed. So will the bottom of the bowl. And you're not going to end up with, uncooked things in there or anything like that. But nothing will get chopped up either, because that butterfly whisk will just nice and gently turn it all around. So next thing here is 500 grams of chicken thigh fillets. I had to chop these up tonight. If you are making anything like with chopped chicken regularly, this was half a kilo. My tip or advice would be dice the other half of a kilo now and pop it in the freezer and freeze it already in 3 centimeter cubes. And the next time you want to make something like this, you won't even have to cut it up. Just have to get it out of the freezer and throw it straight in. So 500 grams in. I just make sure that it goes all the way around so it isn't all in one clump on one side. 400 grams of canned apricot nectar. Now you can buy a straight apricot nectar in a bottle. It is usually, you may be able to get some natural ones, but generally it's pretty high in sugar. It's basically like an apricot cordial. So what I tend to do is I just get apricot halves and I tip a bit of the apricot water in and actually some apricots in themselves. So I'm going here for about 400 grams. The apricots will cook down, that's about 430. Still going to give that beautiful apricot flavour, just a little bit less sugar and a bit more of the natural fruit in there. Now we've got 300 grams of water, which I've left over this side. Now my scales are on here if you can't see on the screen. So I don't have to pull out any measuring cups and measure in a cup of water or anything like that. Scales do all that work for me. And now I have about a tablespoon of chicken stock paste. So when you get a Thermomix, one of the first things that we do with you is make a vegetable stock. And you might be wondering, why do you do that as the first thing? Wouldn't you just want to go and cook a meal to begin with? But this is a really, really important staple. This one is just a vegetable stock. It doesn't need to be chicken. You can make chicken as you want, but it's basically just a mixture of fresh veggies or older veggies and some herbs and a bit of salt, quite a bit of salt. The salt works as a preservative, and it also gives it lots and lots of flavour. So lots of our dishes will call for a bit of veggie stock or a bit of chicken stock in, and it's always the homemade one you've made in your Thermi. There's lots of people on here who have a Thermomix. I'm sure you guys can verify for everyone else in the chat box that you all make vegetable or chicken or some sort of stock in your Thermomix. I'd love for you to see it in there if you do. Now, last thing in here is arborio rice. So rice goes in 300 grams. So you can imagine these are pretty big serves. It's quite a bit of rice. And it will feed 6 people. So it's a really, really good one for those bigger families. 300 grams of rice, and we are done. So I'm just going to pop that back out of the way. Just before I start this up, I'm just going to make sure that rice gets mixed in, particularly because I've put those whole apricot pieces in, sitting a little bit different on the top to what it usually would. Give it a little mix. I'm going to pop my lid on top, and we're off and cooking. So now we're going to cook for 17 minutes. This is where the quick and easy comes in. Couple of steps, and now I'm done pretty much. This will cook away for 17 minutes. 100 degrees it's going to get to, and it's going around on a reverse blade, so a really gentle, soft side of the blade, and with a butterfly wicks in. So that's just mixing around, just exactly the same as if you were stirring it on the stove with a wooden spoon, cooking your risotto for 20 minutes. So instead of having to do that, I'm going to jump over to Tash, and she is going to show you what we are cooking next.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jo. So I'm going to be making the vegetarian chili, I think it's called. Pretty much it is basically just some beans, some crushed tomatoes and onion and a few veggies and stuff. So it's a really good one because you can, keep cans in the cupboard and just a few fresh veggies and stuff. So hopefully you can see my screen. I've just changed the brightness on it. So this recipe is on my weekly planner on Cookie Do. So I'm just going to jump straight in. So vegetarian chili, and like Jo's, you can see all my ingredients are down here and the prep on this side. So I can have a bit of a read of it if I need to. I'm just going to hit start cooking and jump in. The first few steps are some herbs, some spices. So we've got half a cinnamon quill, some black peppercorn, some coriander seeds, some cumin seeds, and we are going to, it's been a while since I've done a Zoom, so my coordination skills aren't great. So we're going to chuck all that in, and that is going to cook for 2 minutes. It's going to dry roast all those spices. Now, I absolutely wish that you could have smell-o-vision through the phone, because dry roasting spices like this smells absolutely amazing. That's going to go for 2 minutes. Now, as Jo said, normally if I was cooking in the kitchen, not have everything out prepped, I'd probably use this time to get some, my next things out. There's a really cool feature on the Thermomix. So on the right top-hand corner, there's a button here that's called Preview. If I click on that, it's going to take me through my next steps. So the next step says to allow to cool slightly, and then we are going to mill those spices up for a minute. So in this time here, I love this step because I can just go through and see what my next steps are. The next one is to then transfer it into a bowl and set aside. And then it goes through the next things that I need, my next few ingredients. So normally if I didn't have everything out ready to go, I'd be using this time to get that stuff out, chop my carrot up, chop my capsicum up, and get everything ready to go. So that's just done a minute. So it's got a minute to go. Hopefully you can see my screen a little bit better there. If anyone doesn't have a Thermomix and have any questions, pop it into the chat box. We've got Tennille, who's another one of our consultants on tonight, answering some questions in the chat box. But yeah, if you've got any questions, pop them in there, and either Tennille or if Jo and I see it, we can help as well. Beautiful. Tennille's just popped up the vegetarian chili recipe in the chat as well. So if you're wanting to make this one, I love this one. It's a really good one at like the end of my shopping. I usually shop like once every 3 to 4 weeks. And so this is a really good one to keep for, right at the end before you go do your next grocery shop. Because like I said, it's mostly just tins of beans and tomatoes, all stuff that has a really long shelf life in the pantry, and just some capsicum and carrot, which of course you can sub out if you wanted to. So that's just roasted them off. They don't look much different to when I pop them in. It's just telling us to allow them to cool slightly, and then we're going to mill them up for a minute. So it's going to be quite noisy. Obviously when you're using the higher speeds, the speed 9 and 10, it's quite noisy. Like Jo was saying before, I still get excited about the power of the Thermomix and what the Thermomix can do. And this milling function for me is one that I absolutely love. I love when I run out of icing sugar and I can make some myself. I love when I need almond meal and I've only got almonds. All those sorts of things this milling function is absolutely amazing for. And especially being able to mill down your own spices. Like I mentioned earlier, if you were able to smell these, it would be amazing because it smells awesome from here. So we're nearly done. So Cheryl's just asked, do you have to be in a recipe to use the milling function? No, you don't. Milling is around speed 9, speed 10, just those top end speeds, obviously, because you need to the power of the machine. So you can see all those spices up on my lid and in my bowl. Now, how awesome is that? And it smells amazing. So our next step is it's asking us to transfer into a bowl and set aside. Now, the beauty of having a couple of Thermomix bowls is that I'm just going to set that one aside and pull my nice clean one out and continue on with our recipe. The next step just asks to clean and dry the mixing bowl. Alrighty, so we're going to pop our veggies in now. So we've got a carrot and a capsicum. I've got all that. Likewise, the same as what Joe's done. They're fairly big chunks and pieces of capsicum. It's asking for fresh coriander. I don't have any. It already had coriander seeds in the spice mix, so I'm not going to worry about that. Pop our lid on, and this is going to chop speed fire for 5 seconds. Now, if you're not familiar with using a Thermomix, like Joe mentioned, it comes up on screen, all the steps and instructions. So that's our 5-second chop. Now it's just asking to pop that into a bowl. So I'm just going to pop that back into the bowl that I had. It absolutely makes it so easy. If you can read, then you can absolutely use a Thermomix and cook. I love how easy it is for kids to use. And helps to get them engaged more in cooking and what you're eating. So we're going to set that aside. The next one is an onion cut in half. That's ready to go. And some garlic cloves. Now, unlike Joe, I rarely have garlic cloves because I can't be bothered peeling them, but I always have minced garlic on hand. So I'm just going to pop a bit of that in. Now, it's asking for chilies. I know that there is no way in the world that my kids will eat this if it had chilies in it, so we're just going to skip past that. If you throwing it around. If you are a chili fan, though, you absolutely can pop them in. So speed 7, just for 3 seconds, a quick chop with that one. I'll try not to get a whiff of onion like Joe. So that's our onion and garlic all chopped up. So this is telling us to scrape down the sides of the bowl. And then next we're going to add some olive oil and fry that off. Now, because I've taken my bowl off as I was in that next step, I don't know if you can quite see, you might not be able to see the reflection, but it's taken the weight of the bowl on the scales. So I've got my tare button here. I can just hit that and take it back to 0 before adding my olive oil in. About 30 grams, spot on. Alrighty, it's asking me to place a simmering basket on top, and that's just to allow the steam to come out. I'm just going to grab that one. So that's got a 5-minute saute time just on speed 1, so it's just nice and slow. Like Joe was describing before, it's just like cooking in a fry pan and just giving it a light stir, making sure that it's not burning, obviously. So again, I've got 5 minutes. I can clean up the bit of a mess that I made here. Put my dirty dishes away and be ready to go with the next few steps. Again, something that I know both Joe and I have really small kitchens, if you can't tell. I have 4 kids, Joe has 3, and more often than not, the kids are always in the kitchen with us, running around, taking up space. So the beauty again of a Thermomix is, you know, it's so space saving and can absolutely work in the smallest of kitchens, as both Joe and I have found out.
While we are waiting here, Tash, do you want me to quickly make a spice mix?
Absolutely. I've got 4 minutes on this to go, so let's jump back over to you.
Perfect. So, well, in keeping with the theme of things being fast and furious, what is quicker than a really quick spice mix? I absolutely love, like Tash said, milling things down in the Thermomix. It's something that most of your general kitchens don't have a milling machine. So being able, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I think you've still got me on spotlight. Do you want to change it back to you?
Yes, I'll add me as well so you can see both. Sorry. Is that better, guys? Yes. Sorry, technical difficulties of Zoom. when it comes to milling things down, the beauty of a Thermix is it is just a matter of turning the wheel and those blades going so fast that they can mill. So really quick and easy, you can make any different spice mixes. You can make meat rubs and all sorts of different things. The one we're going to make tonight is called a taco seasoning. So if you were, just in general, say, oh, we're going to have a taco night at home, you go to the shop and you buy your packets of El Paso taco seasoning, yeah? Most of you guys probably have yourself or you've seen them in the shop before. But instead of having to buy that packet, which has lots and lots and lots of extra things added in, why not make it yourself? Yeah? Has anybody made this? Some of you have. I love it. I love it. And in terms of things being quick and speedy, one, it is really quick to make. But number two, it makes for such a fast dinner. If you have a TM6, this is my little opinion being thrown in, but if you have a TM6 and you have not yet made the beef tacos, please put it in your meal plan. They are mind-blowing. They are so, so nice. And they use this taco seasoning that you make yourself. It will just completely flip your entire idea of a taco night at home, being able to throw it all in and let the Thermix do it. So without talking too much, I'm going to quickly run through it. Now, my risotto is still cooking away. I don't need to get out of that recipe. I'm just gonna leave it in the background, and I'm going to jump back into my weekly planner where I've dropped on a taco seasoning recipe. So this one in particular is actually using tablespoons and teaspoons. Because these spices are so light, they're very hard to weigh out in grams. So a tablespoon and teaspoons are really, really accurate measurements. So for this one, you might have seen me in the background while Tash was cooking. I've just measured all of mine out. But if you do need to weigh, while it's cooking away, you can actually just take your measuring cup out for a sec and pop your bowl up on top. Turn your scales on and then weigh in the top. So it's really, really handy. For this one, we don't need to weigh, so I won't worry. But basically what we're going to put in here is garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, paprika, cumin seeds, rock salt, some chili, and some black peppercorns. So I've measured them all out in tablespoon or in the amounts into here. I'm going to add them straight into the bowl. Now, tip, if you haven't made this before, please do not put all of the chili in the first time. Go at least half or a quarter. I promise you will thank me, regardless of whether you have kids or you like spicy food. It is really, 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 really hot. So please reduce the chili. You can always add more in later, but you can't take it out. Reduce the chili when you make it. I've just put a sprinkle of chili powder in and a little bit of pepper. And again, I'll add a bit of chili in to the ones that I'm making. I'll definitely leave it out for my kids. But that is all I need to do for now. When it comes to actually making this, when my risotto is done, we're going to give this a minute to mill down, as the recipe says, and then you'll be able to see my end result of taco seasoning in a jar, all ready to go for a really, really quick meal. We're going to jump back over to Tash. It looks like she's up to her next step.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jo. So that's finished, and that is our onions all sauteed off. Do you want to put me back on spotlight?
Yeah, we're both up on one.
Oh, beautiful. Cool. It's not big on mine anymore, but that's okay.
Oh, no, all good.
I got to look at you. Alrighty, so the next thing is a tin of canned chopped tomatoes. So I'm going to add them in. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I buy the ones that's like, what's it called, like Italian herbs or something like that. It's got extra in it, and that's really nice to use as well. Chickpeas, cannellini beans, and kidney beans. Now, I didn't have any kidney beans, but in my cupboard I found this one, which is just a 4-bean mix. So I'm going to chuck that one in. Now, obviously, all of them say rinsed and drained, and I've done that prior to like getting everything ready tonight. Now, I've just missed tomato paste, which, hang on, I have to find some. Jo, have you got any tomato paste?
Yeah, I do. It's in the fridge.
Where would mine be, do you reckon? If you were my tomato paste, where would you be?
I'll throw it through. You've got a bit of time. You could make some.
I absolutely could. I'm pretty sure there's some out in the other pantry, so I'm just.
I'll jump back up here while you go. Okay. Oh, we've got it. All good.
Oh, I'm just going to skip that for now. The next step is some veggie stock paste, which is using the same as what Jo chatted about before and used in her recipe. And you'll notice that both of us have used this tonight, which is absolutely why you need to make veggie stock paste. Some dried chili flakes. I'm not going to worry about that because, like I mentioned, I know my kids won't eat anything spicy. Our reserve chopped vegetables, our reserve spice mix, which is in here in this bowl. So I'm just going to tip that straight in. And that's it. Now that's going to cook for 20 minutes. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to run out and find my tomato paste, and I'm just going to pop my measuring cup off and pop that in. So while that's cooking for 20 minutes, I think we're going to jump back over to Jo.
Perfect. I put myself back up on the screen. I absolutely love this way of cooking, and it is so how I cook as well. But, you know, being able to miss something and run back out and find it and put it in. I'm often flying out to the garden going, oh, I didn't get any herbs and I need herbs from the garden or whatever it is. So I absolutely love being able to do that. Now, my initial step is finished. This has had a 17-minute cook time. To give you a little visual, you can see this is a 2.2 litre bowl and we are almost full. So it is a really, really big batch of risotto. All right. Let me click up here so I can see. All right, so next step is to remove this butterfly. Be careful, it is a little bit hot if you haven't made this one before. And as you can see, it's a little bit tricky to get cleaned off. So do whatever you need to do here. It is a little bit of a fiddly one. I tend to just use this one, but you can use some tongs, or if you have kids, they might just need a bit of a hand to get this out and get everything off because it is really, really hot. But just cleaning off that chicken and the veggies and things that are stuck on the butterfly whisk. All right. So now that the majority of the cook time has been done, we don't need that in anymore. This is where we should be adding in our frozen peas. Remembering I'm leaving mine out. So I had a bit extra veggies in there. It won't matter too much, but if you wanted to add them in, this is where you'd be popping them in, or frozen corn or any veggies you wanted. And a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. So I'm going to a crack of pepper in here. Now, when it comes to thermomixing, especially when you're getting the hang of it, getting used to a new one, absolutely season with whatever you would usually do. Stop and taste your food as you go. Cook exactly how you would cook. Don't feel like just because it is different that you have to do exactly this. So if you're someone who's always stopping to add salt and pepper, if there's certain spices and flavors that you particularly love and you generally add into your cooking all the time, then do the same thing with this. Don't feel like you can't just because the recipe doesn't say so. Just make it your own. So if you want to taste it here at this stage, you'll know exactly what else it needs. Now you're going to pop on your lid. Wrong lid, pop on this lid. And we've got 4 minutes here for this to finish off cooking. So how is yours going, Tash? Have you still got a couple of minutes over there?
Sorry, I was just cleaning my kitchen up. I've still got 17 minutes with my chili con carne. I don't even know what I'm making. My vegetarian chili.
All good. While mine's only got a second, I might show you guys what this is. So I've got 3.5 minutes here. I'll try and keep it quick. If you haven't noticed, I like to talk, so I'm sorry. I'll try to keep it quick. This is what we mentioned earlier, our black thermo server. So early this year, we had a limited edition black thermomix come out. You might be able to see a glimpse of one over there in the background. As consultants, we got first chance to earn them. So myself, both Tash and Tennille that are on tonight earned them, along with a few others in our team. So we all earned these on top as a bit of an extra incentive, which was pretty exciting. So we all have 2 thermies in our kitchen, which is pretty cool. But along with them is we got black thermo servers too. So instead of having a white Thermomix and a silver thermo server, we got these awesome black ones. So they work exactly the same, but they are black. This is the base that they would usually come in. When it does come to serving your hot food up and that sort of thing, particularly cooking your rice and your pasta, it is ideal to keep your thermoserver in the base because it will keep it that little bit elevated up off the bench and just help to keep that heat in. It does depend a bit on, your bench tops and things. You can imagine a stone bench top is going to be really cold in winter. So having just the plain metal on the stone is going to be a lot colder than having this. So that's the reason for the bottoms. They make a nice little hat, and then you've got your top up there. So the deal that we have on right now, it's a little bit of an extra thrown in for the end of July, is for you to host a cooking experience and get one of these as a free host reward. So I know there is a few of you jumping on tonight. You've said to a couple of friends, jump in and watch this. We're going to watch a cooking experience, and it means that they get a freebie. So when it comes to Thermomix, we love to reward our customers. We are really a brand and a company that pride ourselves on customer service and really looking after people right from the beginning, right throughout their journey. So not if we wanted to just sell a product, we'd just stick it in a shop. We wouldn't bother having consultants, but that's not what we're about. We're about teaching people how to cook and showing you people exactly what a Thermomix can do. So what we do is we have a bit of a rewards program. That means that if you want to jump in with your consultant and have a cook together and have a couple of friends come along, you get an exclusive little host reward. So at the moment, we have these black thermo servers on. If you are Zooming in tonight, this might be your first time seeing it, or this isn't one that you're particularly hosting and you're thinking, I want one of those as well. Just let whoever's invited you along know, or myself, Tash, Tennille, whoever you've come along with tonight, just let us know that you'd actually like to host your own and pick up a host reward too. So we have our host reward tiers and all the different bits and details you can go through with your consultants. But this is the basics of it. You're going to get this extra little freebie with a host reward until the end of July. So with 10 seconds left, I'm nearly up to my next set. So I'm going to grab this one ready. Now, risotto is a really, really good one to have a thermoserver for, because just as this one is about to say, let it rest for 5 or 10 minutes. So once you've done, if you've ever cooked risotto on the stove, you might remember that it was a very long process and you're standing by the stove for half an hour or more actually cooking away. So the Thermomix usually cooks its risotto for 20 minutes or something around that. And it actually needs just an extra few minutes to rest at the end before it really gets that beautiful thick risotto texture. So you'll see mine up here, still a little bit runny. And that's where that few minutes of resting time will really, really come into its own. So I'm just going to tip it in here. Because one of the best features, I think, and so overlooked features of a Thermomix is that everything's done in a bowl that has a handle and a spout. If I ever cook on the stove or conventionally, I get to the end and I go, man, how am I going to get it out of the pot? I've got to try and pick it up or scoop it out or ladle it out. I'm so used to a Thermomix where I just pick up the handle and tip it out. You don't realize how much of a convenience it is until you don't have it, but it makes it very, very handy. So that's my risotto in there. I'm going to let it have a little rest. We'll pretend that there is nice little green peas throughout it. Stick that on the top, keep that heat in for a few minutes. Beautiful. Now you can add some extra herbs, cheese, anything else that you want to add on top of that. We'll show you the end result once it's had a bit of a rest. This is my bowl. So it's a bit dirty in there, but it isn't terrible. What we'll do now, I'm going to make this, so I won't get straight into it, but what I will be doing in the background, I'll put some water in this, a drop of dishwashing liquid, And the Thermomix, believe it or not, has a self-clean function. So I'll pre-clean. And that is where I'll just pop it on and say, you do all my dishes for me. I don't have time. And it will give the bowl a really, really good clean. When it's finished, I'll just be able to give it a rinse out. I'll pull my bowl apart tonight. It comes apart in 3 pieces and wash it up when I'm done. But it won't need much of a washing up at all because that pre-clean will have done all of the work. To give you an example of the pre-clean, if you're not familiar with Thermi, this afternoon, a couple of hours ago, I made a pasta in here. If you saw me on Instagram, I was doing a creamy salami and tomato fettuccine. I made that. I put my bowl on for a pre-clean. I rinsed it out. I made sausage roll filling in here. That was mince and veggies and different things. Rinsed it out and had it on the sink drying, and then I've made this. So all in the same bowl, just over and over again. Let it do a pre-clean, give it a rinse. You can imagine if you've done that conventionally, one, pasta is never just one single pot. You're always needing at least 2 and chopping boards and graters and all different things. But then I would have done, a sausage roll filling. That would have been another bowl and another grater and something else. And then we've done this. So you'd be looking at a couple of pots and pans, chopping boards and graters and the food processor. The kitchen would be absolutely full of stuff to wash up. Whereas with the Thermomix, it's all just repetition in the one bowl. And it means at the end, I've got barely any washing up and a bowl that cleans itself. So really, really handy. All right. Now, we're going to jump back to these spices over here and finish our taco seasoning. So if I just jump up here and into my weekly planner, we didn't really touch on cookie dough too much at the beginning, but what we're looking at here is a library of over 80,000 recipes. So absolutely heaps and heaps and heaps. This steps us through adding everything in which we've already done. And now we're going to blend. So this will be a minute of blending. Again, it's really, really loud, so you won't be able to hear too much going on from my end, but it's just going to mill all those spices down, mix everything together. I'm going to have a beautiful taco seasoning left at the end. And we're done. So I'm going to show you what this looks like, and I'm going to pop it here into my jar, ready for a container. Now, we picked this as a quick dish. Well, it is quick to make, but it also makes for a really, really quick dinner. Not just the beef tacos, but you can pop this on a bit of chicken or onto any type of meat, really, and pop it on the barbecue, in the oven, in the smoker, in the air fryer, and you'll have yourself some beautifully seasoned meat. With this one, with any of our spice rubs, they are so quick and easy. If you're actually looking for a gift for a friend or something like that, how much of a nice gift is it to gift them a really, really quick dinner? Gift them a spice mix and say, here you go, add this to some chicken, throw it in the air fryer, and that'll be your dinner done. You only need to just add a bit of a side with it. So a really, really cool way. Or it's a taco mix done. This one you can double or even triple the batch. I tend to use a fair bit of it because it is just so yummy. Tacos are a favorite. We do all sorts of different variations. And we do stick it on our meat and different things like that. So you can always do a double or a triple batch. Now, I have a taco seasoning jar, which is empty. I'm just going to stick the lid on top. Those of you who have been around for a while have probably seen this done. If not, here's a little trick. When you're trying to tip something into a jar, can be a little tricky sometimes, depending on the consistency. So this will just help catch any of that overflow, means that I don't get a big mess on my bench. While I'm getting the rest of this out, I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think? Feel free to come off mute if you'd like to talk, or if not, pop it into the chat box. Let me know what you think of the taco seasoning. If you have a Thermi, would you go and make it? If you don't have a Thermomix yet, are you thinking, that'd be a handy thing to do? What are you thinking? Pop it into the chat box. I'd love your feedback. All right, that's done. No mess. And there's our taco seasoning done. That's going to make a heap of batches of tacos. You can see by some of your faces that you think it's a pretty good idea, even if you haven't put it in the chat box. So I'm glad that you're thinking it's good. I absolutely love it. I'll pop a little jar on a little lid on this. It'll keep for ages because it's all just dried, and that'll be lots and lots of dinners and different things to do there. Awesome. All right, where are you up to, Tash?
Oh, there we go. We've got about 5 minutes left on this one. But while you were talking about the thermo servers, Joe, I grabbed this lid out. So I don't know if any of you have got this one. They're available in the mix shop. It's like a silicone. You can see it's like flexible. A silicone lid. It's got these little tabs. You just pop them back, and it means that it makes your thermo server sealable. Does that make sense? Pop it on top, and then you just pop those tabs down, and then it means that you've got a sealable lid and you can cut your food. So it's really good for yogurt. Sorry, Joe's going to jump in and tell me they're not available or something.
No, just that it's the same one that I just had out to put on my risotto.
Oh.
I love them. I'm always keeping my leftover. Like, I obviously won't be eating this tonight, but if we were serving it, I'd just leave it in this. We'd eat as much as we ate tonight, and then I just pop a lid on and stick it in the fridge. So this is just a really sealable lid, which means that it won't spill or anything like that. So I'm 100% behind Tash here. These are fantastic if you don't have one already.
Yeah, they are awesome. Really good if you do yogurt in your thermo server as well. Just means that it doesn't get spilled. If you're transporting it, quite often I'll make dinner, and like if the kids are having a sleepover at mum and dad's or something like that, and I'll take dinner out in this and pop this lid on, so I know that when we're traveling in the car, it's not going to spill. Took mum a little while to work out how the lid works though. How much are they? I have no idea. I don't even want to say. Janelle might quickly look it up. I'm pretty sure you can get different colours. If I had to bet on it, I would say under $20. Oh, there, Cheryl, $14.95. Yeah, I didn't think they were heaps. So, but yeah, if you haven't got one, absolutely get one to add to your stash because they are awesome. The actual thermo server lid, I'll just grab one out, that comes with it that Joe had out before and everything. They're great as well. They obviously sit on. No, unfortunately, you can't get them for the oval server. They're just for the round thermo servers, but they fit. These round ones come in a 2.6 and a 2.2. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. Yeah, and it fits both of them because the diameter is the same. It's just the height that's different. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tennille. She's just popped that in the chat box there. So that's the thermo server lid that comes with the thermo server. Obviously sits on great and fine and perfect and everything, but it doesn't seal it. So if I were to tip that upside down, that's obviously going to come off. And obviously there is risk of, spilling and stuff if you were to cart it. And that's why this one comes in really handy. So that's that one. Just while we are chatting about mix shop stuff, I've still got 2 minutes to go. Just really quickly, if you are looking at buying stuff off the mix shop, quick reminder, you don't even need to own a Thermomix to buy anything off the mix shop. They have some amazing products in there, just like the Thermomix. Everything is absolutely quality. Like Joe mentioned with cookie dough, the recipes being triple tested. Everything that's gone into the mix shop that is available for sale in the mix shop is really well thought out, good quality products. And it's not just accessories for your Thermomix. There's lots of different things on there. It's a little bit of a rabbit warren sometimes if you get on there and you can get too much. As consultants, we make a small percentage of mix shop sales. So if you don't have a consultant, you're on here tonight, you do go and buy some stuff for the mix shop. Both Joe or I would love it if you pop our name in there. If you have a friend perhaps that is looking at buying some kitchen appliances, some kitchen accessories, and you pass either Joe or my details on, that'd be awesome. When you get to the checkout, there's a little bit down the bottom that allows you to add your consultant, and that's where you can add our name in. So Carissa says that went a little bit crazy. I think we all do that. Like, I'll just get a spatula, and then before you know it, it's like a few $100s, and you're like, oh, what the hell? Just keep going. Did you want to add anything, Joe?
No, I don't think so. I think jump on and check out the mix shop regardless of where you're at in the kitchen. You'll be surprised about how much good stuff is on there. And for those of you who don't have Cookie Doo or haven't looked at it, please go and check it out. You might be the least bit interested in the Thermomix, but check out Cookie Doo, because I guarantee it will surprise you by how much is available and just what the platform can do. So just jump on cookiedoo.com. It's COOKIDOO, cookiedoo.com, and you can just have a big browse around, see what's on there, see what's available. So many recipes. If you don't have a Thermi and you want to cook conventionally, just use it as a bit of inspiration. Type in chicken or type in something and you'll be amazed at what you find. I'm still getting blown away. Today, I accidentally somehow in my online click and collect order have been given 4 jars of sun-dried tomato. I don't remember ordering them. I don't know how they ended up in there, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll use them. So what I did this afternoon is just typed into Cookie Doo sun-dried tomato. Thought surely there's got to be something on here. I didn't have long, so I was about to jump on here. But just very quickly, I found 1, 2, 3, 4 different recipes that use a really high percentage of sun-dried tomato just by typing in the word sun-dried tomato. And there is a pull-apart bread here. There's another seedy bread, and there's a tomato spaghetti, like all sorts of different things on there. So that just gives you a little example. Imagine if you type in chicken or something like that, you're just going to get so many different recipes that come up. So regardless of whether you have a Thermi, it's really worth using it as a bit of a search engine for some inspiration in the kitchen. All right, I'll jump over to you, Tash, because I know you're up to the next step. Beautiful.
So that's finished. I just had a quick look to see how many serves this one was, and it says that it serves 6. Quite often I get asked, is the Thermomix big enough for a large family or like for bigger meals? I have 4 kids, like I mentioned before, so family of 6 here, and that absolutely would be enough to serve all of us. It's nearly up to the 2-litre mark in the Thermomix, so the bowl is like nearly at capacity. I'm just going to pour that into my thermo server and pop my lid on and pop it in the fridge later, ready for lunches this week, maybe even dinner tomorrow night. I haven't really thought that far ahead. The other thing I wanted to mention with this meal, it is perfect served with on a winter's night with some really nice sourdough bread or something like that, something nice and warm and hearty. Or if you're invited to some sort of a winter get-together, it's the perfect like potluck meal to take. You know, when you're asked just to bring like a bit of a one-hit, one-bowl wonder type thing, this sort of thing is perfect. So I'm going to pop that aside. Joe, did you want to jump in, or do you want me to just keep going and make peanut butter?
If you want to keep on going, make the peanut butter. Just before you start, there's a couple of questions in here. You've mentioned you had 4 kids. It's a family of 6, but around how big are the kids or how much are they eating, I suppose. So we've got someone saying, I've got a 14-year-old boy who's a bottomless pit. Am I going to be able to feed them with this, or is it only going to be making, small meals? Like,
beautiful.
Give us a bit of background.
So my kids are 2 teenagers, 12 and 13, and then a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. So certainly getting up there in terms of how much they're eating and that sort of thing. And yeah, Cara, I would absolutely still 100% say that a Thermomix, like the meals are still big enough. When you jump onto Cookie Doo, and this is the beauty of Cookie Doo, it tells you the portion size and the serving size. So if you're only cooking for 2, you can filter that. Or if you're cooking for, more than 4, more than 6, you can filter that in your cookie dough search, and all those recipes will come up that are for like larger families, for bigger serves and that sort of thing. Your other option, we haven't even touched on the Varoma tonight, Joe, but I will very quickly just pull out my Varoma, because I know there are a few on here that don't have a Thermomix. So just really quickly before I jump in and make peanut butter, this is the Varoma that sits on top, which is essentially a steaming platform that it allows you to do like so much more food. So you've got the Varoma tray, the Varoma dish. Probably not if I was making the vegetarian chili. But if I was making something else and it had some veggies in the bottom, I will use this to bulk it out and add some more veggies or meat or something else up on here, just to bulk out that meal as well. So that is also an option that you've got to bulk out those meals and make it a bit larger, if that makes sense. In your Varoma dish as well, you can take this tray out, just use your dish for whole steamed chickens, silver sides, those sorts of larger things as well. You can also use it with the both trays and have little muffin, silicone muffin trays that go in here and the bottom to make like steamed puddings and all those yummy things like that. So just really quickly wanted to touch on the Varoma. If anyone's got any questions about that, pop them in the chat box or come off mute and let us know. I'm going to really quickly, just conscious of time because we don't want to keep you guys on here for too long, I'm going to really quickly whip up peanut butter. You can see my peanut butter container's getting pretty empty. So all we need to do is pop in 200 grams roasted salted peanuts or roasted unsalted. Pretty sure these ones are salted. Literally like your own personal preference type thing, or what you can get. That was about all I could get at Coles today. So speed 4 for 8 seconds. It's going to be quite noisy, but that's going to top them all up. The beauty of making these things yourself, like your taco mixes and your spices and all those sorts of things, is that you can absolutely do it to your own preference. So that's what it's done for 8 seconds. It's now telling us to add in some peanut oil or grapeseed oil to taste. Now, I don't always, that is open. I don't always add in oil because quite often the oil in the peanuts is enough to give it that texture, but I'm going to add in a bit tonight. Then pop our lid back on and we're going to go for another 4 seconds. Speed 4, 8 seconds, I should say. Homemade peanut butter is amazing, absolutely. So that's what we've got at the moment. And then the recipe just says, check consistencies to your preference. If you prefer a smoother consistency, you can keep going. Now that's a pretty crunchy peanut butter for me. I'm going to pop it back on and I'm going to go again. So I'm just going to go for another 8 seconds. There we go. That looks a bit better. Now it's just saying that you can add a little bit of extra oil through the mixing hole lid while that was blitzing that if you wanted to, but I reckon that's pretty oily enough. So that's the current consistency. It's still pretty like a crunchy peanut butter. If you wanted to go smoother again, you absolutely could. Now, keeping in mind that's just peanut butter, you could do any sort of nut butters with that. Beautiful. I'm going to pop that into my container and the kids will be happy that we've got some more peanut butter. Before I do that, oh, sorry, Joe.
You're all right. Keep going.
I was just going to say I've just popped some water in my bowl from my vegetarian chili. I'm going to pop that back over and I'm going to put my pre-clean on. So that'll be cleaning while I'm doing this. All righty, it's back to Joe.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'll just leave us both up here on the screen while we're finishing up. I'm just going to show you quickly the end result of my risotto. So you can see it was still pretty gluggy and runny at that stage. That few minutes of resting, you can see that. It's a bit hard to see through Zoom, but it's a perfect risotto consistency. Not gluggy, it isn't runny, it is just beautiful. There's no burnt bits on the bottom. I guarantee you, if I'd cooked it on the stove, there would be burnt bits on the bottom from not being able to stare there and stir it. It's absolutely cooked to perfection. And anyone can do this. Kids can do this. Anyone that doesn't know how to cook, you can all do this. It's so easy. And there is 6 meals for me or 6 serves for our family, all done tonight. Part of why I love this job is that I get to jump on a Zoom overnight while my kids are asleep and make food for us for the week. Tomorrow night, I don't need to cook. It's absolutely fantastic. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed watching. For those of you who already have a thermie, I hope we've inspired you to maybe try something new. You've maybe picked up a trick somewhere along the way. For everyone else, what's going to happen from here? We will get in contact with you and just touch base. What did you think? We love your feedback. The only way that we can keep doing Zooms and keep getting them better is by your feedback. So we'll touch base with all of you. When you guys registered, you popped down who invited you along and who was your consultant if you did have one. So we will divvy those people up depending on where you came from, if that makes sense. And we'll get in contact with you probably tomorrow. It's getting a little bit late now. We'll get in contact with you tomorrow and say, what was your feedback? What did you think? And would you actually like to see a bit more of the Thermomix? Or would you like to get one in your own kitchen? Would you yourself like to get yourself a black thermo server and host your own cooking experience before the end of July? So lots of different options there for you. We'll get in contact, get your feedback most importantly. If you have any questions, please stay on now and ask them. But otherwise, anything you think of overnight, or if you jump off and you start to look at Cookie Do and you've got lots of questions running around, when we contact you tomorrow, shoot them away. That is what we are there for. We hope that you enjoyed it. A massive thanks to Tash for jumping on and cooking. And a big thanks to Tennille in the chat. You were absolutely super fast hands there. It's great to have someone extra. And a big thank you to all of you guys who jumped on. I'm going to turn off our recording.